What's going on? Bring me back something nice, eh?
What is it? Be careful.
You found them. No easy feat, I bet. How's old Hector these days? Not so good after you cross paths with him, am I right? I'll polish these wings up and get them back to their owners, just as soon as my Mariketh friend can get her folks to pay the ransom. Price, I mean. In the meantime, take a little something from my stock as payment. Well, they're forged from solid gold. I can tell you that much. But I suppose that's not really what you're asking about. The wings are a treasured piece of the Mariketh heritage. Back when the tribes quit their squabbling and joined hands to battle the Eternal Empire, the wings were seen as a symbol of their unity. The Golden Sakhima wore them as she led the whole bloody Mariketh horde against San. She was a single greatest hope for the Mariketh was that Asenath. Hector Tatooshus crushed both their hopes and their precious Sakhima. Stay out of the shadows, they might.
In Azaro's grotesque little garden, you'll find an old friend of mine, the yawning maw that is Hugo, but a soft portrait of what that pathetic creature has come to believe about the nature of fear. Those who look upon him see their own fears reflected in his horrifying visage. Remember, humanity needs us.
Machine. No room for this right now with the generator as full as it is. Bye.
I heard tell of an ancient Val scholar who bore the name Ugal. He'd conduct these grisly experiments in pursuit of some piece of nasty wisdom tucked in the nether regions of human terror. Practiced on young kiddies, no less, scaring the living shite out of Val toddlers and then nabbing their fare within a hall of thaumaturgical mirrors. Could be the whole story's a crock, and here's where it gets even hazier. Seems old Ugal found something in that fair, enough to scare a whole swag of Val into worshipping him. Honestly, some people will worship anything for a bit of spiritual peace of mind. Good luck to you.
death, the mirrors are thus shattered. Yugal was a cautionary tale. The only way to truly understand fear is to become it.
I like the taste of this divine spark. Smooth and flavored with fear.
So it was that bloody scholar after all, was it? Sick bastard. Well, he's gone now, and I hope you made sure he suffered like those poor kiddies he tormented. I'd have toasted him nice and slow like a spitted pig. See how he'd like them apples stuffed in his mouth. Here, have something for keeping us safe from the divine undesirables of this world. Bring me back something nice, huh? Still breathing, eh? Don't do anything I would.
I preferred the old look.
Hail!
What's going on? Don't do anything I would.
secrets will soon be mine.
Come over here.
Good luck to you.
Eclipse cold pride, flaming rage and pass beyond this human age. Sun and moon return to their rightful places, leaving our path now clear. Highgate lies ahead, Beastslayer, and a debt that is long overdue. On this road there are the goddesses of Marraketh to be reckoned with, and they will not take kindly to our endeavor. Regardless, I must enter the corpse of my beloved beast and wrest our sliver of hope from the life you so blindly took. There is no prophecy nor portent, no epic nor allegory that can promise your survival in this great journey of ours. For despite your trappings, you remain most certainly, irrevocably, mortal.
Your energies flow through my veins now. Thank you for distracting each other like fools.
May humanity flourish.
Hero, I'll sing of you.
You have offered us the greatest of gifts, freedom. With these divine tyrants gone, we are free to live our lives as we wish, not as is ordained. In time, all of San will thank you. For now, let it simply be me. Why are you still standing there?
I'd thank the gods, but you seem to be taking them out at an alarming rate. Not that I'm complaining. In my experience, theocracy's never been great for entrepreneurs like me. Unless you're in the Holy Relics business. That's too single-minded, too orderly. Give me chaos any old day, for it is in chaos that opportunity is bred. Sun can get back to his usual state of mayhem, and I can get back down to business. Everyone's a winner. Bring me back something nicer.
another one for you.
Nestled deep within the putrid flesh of my dead beast. With many of Highgate's tunnels now collapsed, we must forge another way inside. I have divined one weak point in the beast's flank, an ancient wound wrought by that varlish overreacher, Doriani. The wound was healed shut by a thick membrane, but the right decoction should dissolve the tissue and allow us inside. Of course, for a cordial of such potency, I shall require 2 ingredients of utmost rarity. First, our viscous concoction shall require basilisk acid, a princely poison which drips from the caustic heart of the basilisk, and Trathan powder, an explosive substance oft used in the mining of virtue gems. With these 2 bitter harvests, I shall brew something worthy of eroding the membrane of my decaying pet. Within the ruins of Highgate Refinery you shall find it. Trathan powder, a slightly more unstable blend to the kind found within the celebratory rockets and illuminations of Trathus. This devious mixture of crumbled chemistry was once used to blast holes through even the thickest mountainsides. It will ensure that our mixture has the brute force required, though one should tread carefully within the refinery. For General Adus and his elite legionnaires sought refuge there during the first moments of Malachi's cataclysm. If they remain, they will be creatures of darkest discipline, strong men in health and life, made even stronger in corruption and death. Basilisk acid drips from the hearts of those venomous monsters, though I cannot blame them for their disposition. They are tragic creatures. Theirs is a sorry tale more closely tied to my own than I care to dwell upon. Alas, the forging of my dark ember produced some rather unfortunate byproducts. But we shall not see any success if I am to dwell on those past eras. Goodbye.
You can gripe all you want, lover. We can't stay here. Not with all this blood.
Where do you expect us to go, Vanya? We have our whole lives here in Highgate.
I don't know. West, perhaps? The Ezemite lands. I don't care. Just somewhere that has unpoisoned water.
Oh, Beast Slayer.
Good to see you again.
Even if you have happened upon us in a rather unruly time.
Shush now, sweetie. There's no need to bother them with our woes.
Oh, they don't know. I can see on your face you haven't heard.
It's Kira. She's gone mad.
Absolutely bonkers.
She's abducted Ayun.
Stolen off with her into the desert. And to make matters worse...
The whole of Highgate is in a state of disarray. There's beast blood in the water.
Usurpers are eyeing up the throne.
And the old gods have risen. If you want my advice, get out of Highgate.
Or save us.
While you still can.
You must have encountered men and women like us before.
Relic hunters.
Collectors of rare antiquities. Anyway, Vanya and I are the best in the business.
And we need your help locating a particularly rare item.
Sweet, I was working them into it.
It's an ancient sword belonging to the Maraketh goddess Garukan.
The Stormblade, some call it. A weapon carved from crystal, capable of capturing even the most powerful of storms within its rigid edge.
The goddess lost it somewhere in the eastern desert during her ancient battle against the necromancer Suresh and his undead horde.
According to our research.
Find the blade for us and we will make it worth your while.
We do this ourselves, but what with the political unrest in Highgate as of late?
We fear leaving, lest we find the gateways barred and ourselves without a home.
Please, Vanya, don't say it.
Say what? I told you so? Well, I never trusted Kira. Only need to control everything, no matter the cost, was never a trait I held much faith in.
Yes, but ambition is not the problem. I have ambition. Do you not?
Of course, I trust you, sweetie, but you're not about to go killing everything that moves in exchange for a bit of power now, are you?
Well, I trade dreams of power for dreams of you, my sweets, any day.
Oh, Pataris.
Irasha? Well, she's the best we've got. Strong, purposeful, an honorable warrior.
I think the description you're failing to provide, love, is stick in the mud.
Stick in the mud?
Yes, as stubborn and serious as they come.
You just don't like her because she treats you differently.
Irasha is a stuck-up elitist. She refuses to see me as a woman.
Oh, sweets. You're more woman to me than all of them put together. I'll let Vanya take this one.
Thank you, love. I trained in Ori.
As a witch. Imagine that.
I thought I was telling this story, Pataris.
Yes, sorry, sweets.
I learned all about the old gods. They were supposed to be our idols, beings of divinity that guided us through our mortal lives.
But they aren't like that at all, are they, love?
Hardly. The gods know better than we are, and nobody that is as bad as us should ever wield that much power.
As bad as us? Speak for yourself. I'm positively delightful.
Yes, yes, you're so sweet. They dipped you in a barrel of sugar as a babe. We know.
Good luck. Yes?
Yes?
Until next time.
You must be the outsider, the beast killer. I am Irasha, and while our soft-hearted chieftainess has gone wandering, it falls to me to make sure this Akara doesn't suffer for it. I've heard the stories they tell of you, and I know better than to pluck the feathers from a sleeping rock. Yet, for the sake of my people, I ask that you keep your peace while among us. Our customs have too often been threatened. Your ways are not our ways. Let's keep it like that. Oyun is gone for but a few days, and already Tasuni sniffs at the throne like it's a bitch in heat, ruled by a man. You need only walk amongst the ruins of San to understand that folly. Well, his desires are but wanton lusts while Oyun still lives. One of my scouts saw Kira and her Dakara near the foothills. They had Oyun bound to the back of a rower like a hunter's prize, and the Sekema feather, our symbol of leadership, worn by her captor. Whether Kira works alone or in pack with her brother Tasuni, I know not. Yet I fear she means to sacrifice our Sekema to the vulture of the wastes. Garukan, please, this Akara has helped you in the past. Return our kindness. Free Oyun and return her safely to us. And if this quest is lost, remove the traitorous bitch Kira from this world and retrieve our feather. As long as we have that, the throne of Marraketh will remain safe. No matter where you come from or who you might be, we were all birthed by a mother. Our mothers protected us and gave us nourishment. It is our duty in life to honor that great task. Without a mother, none would tread this dirt today. The most important commandment in our people's tradition is this: honor the mother, honor the life. Arrogant men always seek to control that which they should not, as if that dangling piece of meat between their legs is somehow meant to lead them to power and glory. Men don't have the mind for leadership. Without guidance, they destroy all they touch. Leave the trials of power to women. We who know how to nurture, how to grow, how to protect. Two of a very few outsiders I've met with lick assault. I'm not saying I think they should have as much sway in the Akara as they do, but the fact is, the people like them. Oyun like them. And despite their clumsy attempts to adopt some of our traditions, I like them as well. My head is still reeling from what Kira has done to Oyun. That bitch looked at me day in and day out and proclaimed herself loyal unto death. She has shown her true face in the end. Once I thought the old gods were worthy of honor, and I can still see how one might think they are boons to be gained courting their favor. But if such favor comes at the price of Marraketh's lives, then I spit on the old gods, and Kira as well. May they all rot in the endless desert. I would offer prayers up to the goddess of the breeze as a child, and listen to her voice sing and whisper as she danced through my family's wind chimes. She was my favorite. But in light of recent time, I can only believe that some immortal madness has laid waste to her mind. Through treacherous deeds and blind love, the Gemlin Queen has taught us much. Her body remains here, surrounded by flowers, a reminder to all of us that we ought to tread lightly when chasing desire. Who can say, after all, where the line is drawn between bold ambition and foolish pride? My Dakota and I have vowed to protect our people, and so we keep our eyes sharp and our blades even sharper. As such, I have plenty of weapons on hand. If you perhaps needed to replenish your arsenal, I'm sure we can come to some agreement. Though you showed a mighty bravery when you slew that horrendous beast, by the thoughtlessness of your actions, you have caused great trouble to fall upon our home. The water runs red with toxic, corrupted blood. Now our people must travel far to fill their flasks and feed their livestock. It's as if we're in the midst of a great drought, while the water mocks us from within our own village.
Nightmares are but whispers now, yet like prophets, cowering within crevice and crack. They speak of old God's return and the reprisal of an exile to a beleaguered land. My sister Kira has grown obsessed with the vulture of the wastes, our goddess Garukan. Kira has taken Oyun and plans to sacrifice her, imagining she can reforge herself as a Red Sakema, a warlord destined to unite the Marraketh under her bloody banner. My sister's betrayal is too great for forgiveness. Like a rabid dog wandering the mountain pass, she must be put down. I ask this of you, for you are familiar with such barbarism and will not feel the pangs of mercy that I would. On her person, I suspect you will find Oyun's royal mandate, the Sakema feather. If Kira truly wishes to take the throne, she would need such an item to be considered more than a simple usurper. Bring it to me for safekeeping. And please, return our Sakema Oyun to us if you can. If she still lives, that is. But don't risk your life for hers. For I know her mind. She would not want that. Yes, I know of that dark god perched atop your shoulder. His image comes forth in my mind's eye, and I hear the sound of his breath crackle against the coldness of our mountain air. He has a different energy to the other gods revealed in my dreams. Less hostile, more empathetic to the plight which humanity suffers. Should his brethren be left to roam free? It seems, Lord Sin, as if you are on our side. In the twisting, shifting black smoke of my dreaming, I saw the beast, lying slain at your feet. I saw the rise of the old gods, the rigid, dusty remains, springing in sudden haste to life. I saw the growing of their power. As the corruption began to fade, I felt utter anguish, the madness of the beast's last rapid breath. Yet my sight, my power still remains. It would appear that I was permanently marked by its corruption, even as I was birthed from my mother's womb. While now, my mother is no longer around to protect me, and the beast lies rotting in the bowels of that wretched mountain. Why ask me about her? That woman doesn't like me very much, and I can't say I'm particularly fond of her either. She seems to have gotten into her head somehow that I am the epitome of all evil, a selfish, blind villain. Nothing can be further from the truth, other than the blind part, of course. I suppose Irasha has good intentions. She truly wishes to see our tribe flourish. However, she is too caught up in ancient traditions to see that for us to truly flourish, we must transcend tradition. We must become progressors of the future, not attendants to dry, dusty history. The corruption will pass.
Exile. You have heard of the famed Parandas family, I have no doubt. Wealthy and powerful, and responsible for putting Malachi in position to bring Rayclass to ruin all those centuries ago. Though Emperor Chittis is the most famous of the Parandas family, some remnants of his vile bloodline linger even still. Giannis was one such remnant. He too was orphaned, but with the Parandas coffers dry and the Parandas name worth its weight in gold, no one took him in. No one except my Akara. That he is the only other survivor and is now a powerful member of the Immortal Syndicate leaves no doubt in my mind that it was he who sold us out. If there is but one silver lining in all of this, it is that I may get to sink my blades into his flesh over and over and over again. My Akara, my people, were long ago tasked with protecting the people of Rayclass from themselves. Many artifacts of great power exist. You have come across some such in your travels. But there are some artifacts whose power is so great that to use them would put the world in jeopardy. Artifacts like the Horns of Kulamak. We, the Order of the Jinn, existed to keep such power sealed away in secret. Better that the world forget that it and we exist than fight for control of a power they have no hope of controlling. You have not heard of us because you were never meant to hear of us. I say us. In truth, it is just me left. We came from all walks of life, but we were all orphans, taken in and raised by the Order, and taught never to speak of it under punishment of death. It sounds harsh, I understand, but such was the importance of our duty that a life of solitude and secrecy was necessary. For hundreds, maybe thousands of years, we remained secret, until Giannis Parandas, that imbecile, he sold us out, reaching for the last vestiges of his ancestral glory. Just like his great-grandfather Chittis, he may have doomed us all. We were only taught what was passed down for generations. We believed the horns to be the ultimate tool of life and death, capable of siphoning the very breath of life from any living thing. We do not know where it came from. Perhaps the remains of a powerful, long-dead animal. Perhaps a creation of the gods themselves. Regardless of its provenance, I believe the horns are what have given the Immortal Syndicate their miraculous ability to return from the dead unscathed. I'd not believe you if I had not witnessed the boats lurching onto the shores of Rayclass myself. So, the gods have returned, and Oriath has fallen. This complicates things, to say the least. Exile. I believe the Syndicate has been planning to form a new government. The Templar were cruel, but at least they were mortal. If the Syndicate's power continues to grow, they will be able to rule Rayclass and beyond, without fear of reprisal, and we mere mortals will have no choice but to serve, or fuel their cycle of death and rebirth. Scylla.
Yes? A traveler on the winds, Garakan pridefully plundered the sky for its secrets. To her mind, wisdom could be found in the eye of a hurricane. Please understand that Garakan is not an evil being. She was once my friend and companion. Her beauty astonished me as her aspirations inspired me. Yet I must forgo my sentiments for the sake of humankind. Like winds erode the sandstone, Garakan has been warped by the same powers she enslaved. This is not my goddess that you shall slay. And if I continue to say it, I might very well come to believe it. I weep for my poor Garakan. Together we experienced the loftiest moments that this world could offer. Alas, it was my heavy heart that she could no longer bear. I knew her pride would one day be the storm that would ravage my precious humanity. In truth, it was for Garakan that I sowed the dark ember within the depths of Highgate. When love cannot be slain, it must be laid down to sleep. Farewell.
Yes? See ya.
Exile. Blood everywhere around here. Starting to remind me of my time in that little room back in Oriath. All that digging really made a mess of me hands. The bits ain't just for protecting me against the sulphite, you know? Shh. Here it is again.
Glad to see you. Let's deal.
In a gambling mood?
Hail! I'll sing of you.